Listen to the clock as it ticks in steady rhythm, while your mind spins whole epics between two beats. That contrast is the puzzle of time, because the dial is tidy, while our stories surge and twist. We live between two languages of time. One outside is numbers and one inside is feelings. Calendars insist every hour is equal, yet some minutes stretch and others vanish. Ask what now really means, because that answer bends choices. Presentism says only the present is real, which fuels savoring yet can weaken commitment. Another view says all times exist together like a book already printed. That spacious picture calms chaos, yet it can slide toward resignation. A third view is cyclical, more spiral than line, where seasons return and we return wiser. Cycles reassure without trapping us because repetition can lift like a staircase. These maps quietly steer everyday decisions about money, health, and love. If only now matters, we overspend and chase novelty. If everything is fixed, we drift. Regret is the mind trying to edit a closed scene. We replay and polish, then mistake imagined cuts for true possibilities. Augustine turned inward and said time stretches across the soul. The past lives as memory, the future as expectation, and the present as attention we hold. Einstein showed that clocks disagree when motion and gravity change the stage. You feel the echo as jet lag when body and schedule fall out of step. Some infer a block-like universe, yet experience still lights rooms one by one. Imagine a museum where your walking turns on lamps. Your steps still matter. Do not mistake maps for jails or calendars for judges. Meaning appears in motion, inside constraints we choose and limits we respect. Take a common case. You vowed to run and slept in again. The present shouted, the future whispered. Design helps more than shame. Commitment devices bring tomorrow close enough to feel. Shoes by the door, a friend waiting, and a planned route amplify the whisper. Presence is not planning's enemy, they are partners. Presence gives texture to moments. Planning gives direction to attention. Treat regret as information, not indictment. Extract the lesson and redesign the setup for the next similar moment. Write a letter from your future self to make responsibility vivid. We move not only by logic, but by loyalty to who we are becoming. Anticipation can corrode into anxiety or mature into preparation. Plan to be ready, not to be right, and release what you cannot steer. Relationships braid two timelines that magnify neglect and attention. Small omissions accrue like interest. Small moments of presence cancel debt fast. If presentism pulls you short, bind values to repeating rituals. Weekly check-ins and seasonal reviews look circular, yet rise as spirals. If eternalism numbs you, see your choices as structural, not decorative. Courage illuminates a corridor that existed only as potential until you walked it. Awe compresses time into shining beads. Boredom stretches it thin. Design more awe through nature, art, and sincere conversation to deepen your days. Freedom is chosen constraint, a riverbed that lets water flow. Pick a direction so one true yes closes 1,000 trivial maybes. Technology accelerates demands and fragments attention. Protect slow zones where thinking simmers and conversations finish their sentences. Ethically, time is soil we steward, not fuel we burn. Ask whether your minutes enrich common ground or strip it bare. Presence is attention plus reverence, a moment received rather than counted. Practice small anchors, a breath before replying, a pause before sending, gratitude before sleep. Return to the ticking in the mind's epics, and notice your stance has shifted. The drumbeat is given, the melody is yours to compose. Hold one image for the hours ahead, two clocks resting side by side. One measures minutes, one measures alignment. Together they form a wiser dashboard. As you step into the next now, ask 3 honest questions. What will you release? What will you begin? And where will you be fully present today? Let the first clock keep time while the second gives direction, and walk forward with both in quiet conversation. A moment ago, we pictured 2 clocks on the desk, one keeping time and one giving direction, and that image still hums like a low drum under everything we do. Let us step closer to it now, because the way we read those clocks determines not just our schedule but our story. Think of life as a novel we co-author with forces we do not fully control, where memory drafts the previous chapters while anticipation sketches the next. We are both the writer and the character, which is why decisions feel heavy and yet thrilling when the pen touches the page. Our inner timeline is braided from 3 strands: what we remember, what we attend to, and what we expect. When the braid frays, regret tugs backward, distraction pulls sideways, and anxiety yanks forward until our days tangle. The cure is not to cut the braid, but to weave it with care, Because good weaving makes tension into strength. Memory becomes guidance instead of blame. Attention becomes presence instead of worry. And expectation becomes preparation instead of fear. Let us anchor this with a story older than any calendar. The scene where a sailor has himself tied to the mast so he can hear dangerous music without steering toward disaster. Odysseus made a contract with his future self by removing the option to obey short-term temptation, and that simple move still teaches modern minds how to hold course. We can do the same with gentle modern ropes, like committing money to a savings account we cannot easily touch, or scheduling learning time with a friend who will notice if we cancel. These ropes do not punish us. They protect our deeper goals from the siren songs of easy novelty and frictionless delay. You can call them promises or contracts or rituals, but they all convert a distant identity into a present nudge. The trick is to make the nudge obvious when willpower is tired, which is why shoes by the door and a calendar alert with a name work better than raw intention. The second strand in our braid is regret, which often masquerades as moral truth when it is really untrained imagination working overtime. Regret becomes useful only when it points to a violated value and a missing skill, because those two clues tell us what to practice next. Practice works best in tiny rehearsals close to the moment we usually fall short, where the brain can learn a different move with minimal friction. If late-night scrolling steals your sleep, put your charger across the room and set a bedtime alarm that reads, in your own words, the name of the value you want to protect. Name the value in plain language so it lands with feeling, like rest for tomorrow's patience or presence for the person you love most. Values need voices, and writing their names in the places where decisions happen gives them a voice strong enough to be heard. Anticipation, the third strand, becomes wise when it stops predicting outcomes and starts planning responses. You cannot control the weather of events, but you can pack a raincoat of options, and that is what robust planning looks like in everyday life. Use a simple move borrowed from thoughtful teams. Imagine what could go wrong before it does, and design a few small saves. If your focus time gets hijacked by messages, set 2 short check windows and protect 1 deep block with devices in another room, and doors gently closed. Make your cycle of work honor both sprint and season, because linear time pushes us forward, but cyclical time restores us. Build weekly resets that feel like turning a page, monthly reviews that feel like climbing 1 step on a spiral, and seasonal retreats that feel like opening a wider window. Do not neglect rest, because rest is not a pause from progress. It is part of progress. Fields lie fallow so the soil can heal, and people rest so their judgment can ripen and their courage can be refilled. In relationships, the 2-clock image becomes a living practice, because shared time is where ethics turns practical. 1 clock measures how long you were physically present, and the other measures whether your attention honored the person in front of you. Small cues raise the 2nd clock's score without drama, like putting your phone face down during dinner or beginning a tough conversation with an honest purpose statement. Attention is the currency of respect, and respect is the compound interest of love. Freedom and fatalism wrestle hardest when life surprises us, which it will, often without warning. The block-like picture of time can tempt resignation, yet resignation is not realism. Resignation is neglect, disguised as philosophy. Hold a gentler stance that accepts what is fixed and moves within it with dignity, because agency is the art of shaping possibilities inside constraints. Even a narrow hallway has choices about pace, posture, and tone, and those choices change the experience for you and for everyone walking near you. Technology complicates the hallway by installing mirrors and loudspeakers everywhere, and it takes steady intention to keep your stride. Design focus like you design a room, with a clear entry, a tidy surface, and only the tools you need within arm's reach. Set focus modes to silence everything except true emergencies, and pair your deep work with a boundary ritual that says, now I begin and now I end. Rituals train your nervous system to shift states without wrestling every time, which saves energy for the work instead of the warm-up. Awe remains one of our most powerful recalibrations, because awe shrinks ego and stretches perspective in a single breath. Plan tiny pilgrimages to places that stir you, whether a stand of trees, a favorite painting, or a conversation with someone who speaks from the soul. Series shortens suffering and lengthens gratitude without changing the clock, which is a miracle we can schedule on purpose. Put a recurring reminder to seek something larger than yourself, and watch how your patience improves and your priorities clarify. We can bring Augustine back here without getting technical, because his insight about time stretched across the soul carries practical weight. Treat attention as the instrument you tune each morning, memory as the repertoire you draw from, and expectation as the audience you want to serve well. Einstein returns not to complicate our day, but to remind us that time is not an absolute ruler we all share. It is a fabric that sags and tightens depending on the stage. When life's gravity feels heavy, be kinder to your schedule and kinder to your judgments, because heaviness makes everything take more effort than it looks. Ethically, the clocks invite us to ask who benefits from the way we spend our hours. A career matters, but the people who absorb your mood and attention after work matter more, and that recognition helps right-size ambition without dimming excellence. Excellence actually grows when purpose expands beyond self, because service stabilizes effort when applause is thin. Tie your work to someone who truly needs the fruits of it, and you will find energy on the days when ego would have given up. Cyclical models help communities as much as individuals, because shared rituals carry groups across rough seasons without constant reinvention. Mark beginnings with welcomes, endings with gratitude, and failures with honest debriefs that protect dignity while extracting learning. You can keep fatalism at bay with two simple questions before big decisions. What part is mine, and what part is not? Do the part that is yours with care, and release the rest with courage, because that combination is the heartbeat of practical freedom. Here is a compact mental model you can carry anywhere: seasons for rhythm, anchors for presence, contracts for commitment, and awe for perspective. If you remember those 4 words, you will remember how to read both clocks without letting either dominate. Now return to our opening sound, the steady tick of the measured clock, and notice how your understanding of the second clock has sharpened. The first keeps duration, and the second keeps direction. And a good day honors both without letting either bully the other. Before we part, look at your next 24 hours as a small lab for wiser time. Choose one regret to redesign, one commitment to tie with a simple rope, and one place where your attention will land fully like a bird at rest. What specifically will you release because it no longer deserves your minutes? What, bravely, will you begin because it aligns with the person you are becoming? Where today will you be fully present so that your time turns into meaning? If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Carry 2 clocks. Let one count your minutes and let the other point your way.